moving on to our next water.
Thank you very much, Board.
Oh, well, we got one more. 7.11, sitting as the Board of Directors, Lake County Watershed Protection District, presentation of Big Valley Groundwater Basin Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, progress and next steps. And seeing how Director DeLeon walked up. Oh, no, he's still there. Did you want to start this off or pass it on to Deputy Director DeLegianis?
I'm going to actually respectfully pass along to Deputy Director DeLegianis, who's joining us from Illinois today.
Get out.
I am so serious. Good afternoon, morning. My time zones are different. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Marina DeLegianis. I serve as the Deputy Water Resources Director for the Lake County Watershed Protection District. Please excuse me as I try not to get distracted. My mother is indeed sitting in front of me, recording me. You all cannot see that, thank goodness. Thank you all for having us today. I'm going to share my screen, so please let me know if you can see what I will be sharing with you all here.
Yep, see it perfectly clear.
Awesome, thank you. Great, so good afternoon. As stated, my name is Marina DeLegianis and I am excited to be here. I am joined by two of our consultants for our Big Valley GSP development. The first one being Christy Clark, Public Affairs Specialist and our lead facilitator with Stantec Consulting Services, and then also Eddie Teasdale, who is our Senior Hydrologist and our Program Manager for Ludorf and Scalmanini Consultants, who serve as the lead for the development of our Big Valley Groundwater Sustainability Plan. And we're here to give you an update for our Big Valley Groundwater Basin, GSP, also known as our Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and then our compliance with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of 2014, SGMA. So I would like to set the stage here and just do a very brief overview of what we'll be sharing with you all today. So again, we'll be outlining our Big Valley GSP progress for our SGMA compliance. We'll be highlighting our GSP stakeholder input and public engagement process to date and next steps with that. And then we'll be moving over to our final GSP public hearing and adoption process, which again, we will be outlining is coming up very, very quickly here. And then once all this is said and done, we still have more to do. So after we develop the GSP, what's next? Once we submit this document to the state, what do we actually have to do to carry forward to ensure that we reach and maintain sustainability for our Big Valley Groundwater Basin? And then, as always, I will be putting my contact information in the presentation. So if you have any questions that you can't think of afterwards, we will have ample time for Q&A. You can go ahead and give us a call, visit us at the courthouse, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And then, as always, I do like to set the stage and just outline some of the acronyms that we will be throwing out, as mentioned in previous discussions. We love acronyms here in the California water world. So the first acronym that I would like to highlight is our GSA, and that stands for our Groundwater Sustainability Agency. As a reminder, our GSA serves as the Board of Directors for the Lake County Watershed Protection District, and then also the Lake County Board of Supervisors. So all three of those directors are the same. The GSA serves our Board of Directors for the Lake County Watershed Protection District, serve as our Big Valley GSA. A GSP, again, we are in the process of developing our groundwater sustainability plan. We have multiple groundwater basins in our county, but we only have one priority basin as outlined by SGMA, and that is our Big Valley Basin, which you will be hearing an update on today. And then our GSPAC is our Groundwater Sustainability Plan Advisory Committee. Christy Clark will be leading the way and giving you guys an overview of our GSPAC, the goals of our GSPAC, and next steps as it relates to our GSPAC. On behalf of the GSPAC, I do serve as the lead, so I am the one that pesters the GSA, provides you all the information, and I'm here today to give you an update on our Big Valley GSP. And of course, the reason why we're all here today is SGMA, which is the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of 2014. So with that, I would just like to highlight a few of our key dates that we have had here, and I hope everyone can see this okay. So in December 9th of 2020, we received extension of our facilitation support services from the California Department of Water Resources. One of the key deliverables of the facilitation support services that we were able to achieve was the development of our communication and engagement plan, which again, Christy Clark can highlight if there are any questions on that. And that goes in tandem of our Big Valley GSP. Another big key takeaway that we've been able to get from these facilitation support services was the assistance of a facilitator such as Christy and her team to help us get these stakeholders to the table, hear their input, hear their concerns, and get them onto the table to ensure that we build the best GSP that we can. On March 23rd of 2021, through the county purchasing code and policy, we were able to select the best viable candidates and consultants to aid us in the development of our Big Valley GSP. Again, that is Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec Consulting Services. Their team, along with the team of Water Resources, has been hard at work to make sure that we meet that deadline of January 31st, 2022. Throughout this year, we were also able to establish our GSP Advisory Committee, our GSPAC. We were able to convene 9 technical subcommittee meetings. So with the assistance of our consultants, our stakeholders, we were able to all get together and discuss what we need to put in this GSP, make sure that we have all the appropriate up-to-date data to develop our GSP as appropriately, and to ensure that we reach Sigma deadlines and requirements. We also were able to hold at least 5 public meetings to provide GSP and Sigma info to the community, GSA, etc., anyone that's interested. And then, of course, held 10 Big Valley GSA GSPAC meetings where we meet once a month. And this is all with the GSPAC to review the chapters, learn from our consultants, hear from our stakeholders, etc. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Christy Clark, who is here today to get us started going over our Big Valley GSP input and engagement. Take it away, Christy.
Thank you, Marina. I'm sure your mom is very proud of you right about now. So good afternoon, supervisors, and thank you so much for making time for us to give you a little GSP update today. I know you've had many of them and that your agenda is really packed today, but we're excited to offer you kind of where we're at in the process. So as lead facilitator for the project, I want to provide a quick overview of the GSPAC, which I know that you've heard of. That's our advisory committee. And across the bottom of this particular screen, you'll see the different logos of the different types of entities that we have sitting with our GSPAC. And they've been with us since the very start, since it was chartered back in late April of this year. And they have been very, very busy throughout this time. So I wanted to highlight a few things that they've been able to do in the 8 short months that they've been with us. But they, again, have hundreds and hundreds of hours into this process. So some of the things that they've done is they've held 10 regularly scheduled GSPAC meetings. Those are always 2.5 hours in length. In that time, they've gone through every single component part of the GSP and putting it together. They've held 9 additional meetings that were specifically focused on technical aspects of the GSP. And so kind of putting together what they have resources of and what their skills and backgrounds are, and helping to do some technical deep dives into some things. Also, one of the unique things that we did is those GSPAC members led field visits for the technical team. So where we could get up and into Lake County and kind of go through and walk through different places and see different aspects of things, and let each of them really bring kind of their knowledge to the technical team to help advise us on how best we could build that GSP together. And then also they've met dozens of times individually one-on-one with different technical team members, depending upon what their expertise was. So when I say literally they have put in hundreds of hours each, I mean that in its entirety. They've helped to draft, to review, and to edit every single component of that GSP that's been put together to date. So lots of work in that. So we go to the next slide, Marina. One thing that I wanted to do was talk about, okay, so all of this work has happened with the GSPAC members and with all the meetings that we've held, but how does it all go together? So here you can see just a really quick checklist of all of the different sections that have gone into the GSP. And again, we began holding those GSPAC meetings and really working through each part of this in May of this year. I believe it was May 11th was our first official meeting. So as you can imagine, trying to put together a couple 1,000-page document in that time, we've been busy, but here's what we've been busy doing. So you can read the different sections, and then on the right-hand side of this, it talks about when those different sections were reviewed. And we went through a multi-level process to do the review. The first being that the GSPAC members would review content. They would walk through it. They would give us some input, feedback. Maybe they brought to the table some more resources or some new data that they knew that they had available. So they reviewed every single component part of it. And then it moved, once that was updated, it moved to a public process whereby we posted different sections and then again, chapters of what we had developed. and let the public have input on it. We have always taken public input through an email address that goes through Water Resources, and just wanting people to respond to different component parts of it. In addition to that, of posting them publicly, with each GSPAC meeting that we had, which was open to the public, we gave an opportunity for public comment and review of each of those sections and segments as we walked through them in real time. So anybody could step into those meetings and hear the same type of technical information, and we know it got really technical sometimes. So we also tried to offer some public meetings and things that were devoid of all of the acronyms and all the technical information that we know can sometimes be a little intimidating through the process. And then once that was all done, we brought it together into this draft GSP and how it got put together. You'll notice that there are a couple of components on here, section 5 and 6, which did not get posted for public review. That doesn't mean that they didn't have public review. They had public review time during the GSPAC meeting. But where that came to be is when those were developed, they were developed very, very close to the GSP, the draft GSP timeline of when we needed to post the entire thing. So it was automatically folded in to that draft GSP. And then that draft GSP was put out for a period of 21 days. We released it on November 12th. In its entirety, it was on the Water Resources website, and we offered all the different parts of it, gave a little table of contents so people could navigate it a little bit more easily. And then also the Water Resources team offered binders to people who may not have had access to it online. So just making sure that anybody who wanted to review it had a chance to review it. And so that period ended on December 3rd. So it was a 21-day review period all total. And then we actually got a few people who turned in things about a week later than that, and we still took them because it's just really important for us to be able to fold all those pieces together into the one final document. Next slide, please, Marina. And one of the things that I want to do on the very kind of wrap up of the public input is I want to give huge kudos to this team. There's the point that every single one of the meetings that was undertaken from the very first point of when the technical consulting team was brought on board, and then also when the GSPAC was officially chartered, every single meeting that's been held has been held in a public venue. It's been held virtually. Towards the end here, we've tried to get into a virtual and in-person hybrid format, which can be a challenge, but surprisingly and wonderfully, Lake County had some really great resources for us to be able to do that in some meeting rooms. But everything that existed and was recorded was also archived in one setting on the Water Resources website so that people could go back and reference things if they wanted to get a little bit more information about a technical aspect of something. Or I think probably one of the greatest benefits is that if people were joining us late in the process, they could go back through those. I think there's about 100, maybe 120 hours worth of recordings that they could go back through, and that they could look at the different parts and they could kind of get up to speed with where we're at. And my particular team and Ludorf, where Eddie, who's going to talk here in a second, is from, we work in basins throughout California. I have purview over and can see about 24 basins, all the way from the deserts in the south, all the way up to the Oregon border. And I'm pretty sure I can say that there hasn't been any other basin that has done their process in such a public manner. It just really transparent, really straightforward. There was a very big emphasis with the team that was put on making sure that everything was public and straightforward for folks. And I just think that is unprecedented, that nobody else has done that in any other basin. So with that, now that you know a little bit more about how the public involvement part of it went into, now I'm gonna let Eddie talk a little bit more about what we actually have in front of us at this point.
Great. Thanks, Christy. And again, really happy to be here. I think we've gone through a lot in the last 8 months and we've come a long way. But really, I just wanted to touch on the next slide. When we look at the GSP, Christy had mentioned it's sort of broken out into 8 general sections, but I just thought I'd include this summary slide that kind of walks through, what's really in each of these sections. So really, there's a couple of sections in there that sort of describe the basin conditions. So, who's using water, where is it being used, and sort of what are the general conditions of in this case, groundwater levels or groundwater quality. So that's sort of generally lumped into the basin conditions sections. And then we kind of move through, and now we start talking about, defining sustainability. And that really is sort of, how do we define sustainability utilizing the metrics that have been provided to us by DWR. So that's the sort of really, really important section. And we spent a lot of time, about 2 months, sort of detailing out those metrics that are again required by DWR. And then kind of moving through towards the end of the plan, there's a section in there where we sort of have to detail out projects and or management actions that are needed to sort of maybe address sustainability or how to become more sustainable or sort of develop our resources in a more sustainable manner. So that sort of focuses on the development projects and or management action section. I think recognizing kind of what's happened in the last 10 or 15 years within this basin, sustainability, some say is already existing. So again, that's a positive thing. But again, we have to detail these components within the GSP according to the SGMA legislation. And then the last section sort of has to lay out a plan on how we're going to, implement the GSP. So, as we kind of move forward, the schedule, we have annual reports, 5-year updates. And so that has to kind of be laid out in the plan as well. So those are sort of the 4 main components of the GSP. And I'd say, is one more important than the other? I think really, defining sustainability was a key chapter, and then also sort of the development and implementation of the GSP is really important because again, it's one thing just to get the GSP sort of submitted, but that just starts the process as Marina had mentioned previously. So I think Marina, if you go to the next slide, this kind of builds on that concept. So, hopefully you've got a pretty good feeling of where we've been and sort of now what's to come. So kind of looking out into the future, we've got to get this plan adopted. And so the next couple of, items on this slide kind of walk you through that. So really we had noticed the adoption back in October. Christy had done a really great job of sort of detailing the process we had gone through to solicit input, all along through the public, but there was essentially a public comment period that was opened on the 12th and then closed on the 3rd of December. We've compiled those comments. Not only just the actual physical letters and comments that were provided, but also a matrix of those comments will be included as an appendix within the GSP. And then there's going to be some adjustments to the GSP based on some of those comments. So that's going to get all packaged up, and we're going to get that posted back up onto the website during the week of January 3rd. So once everybody kind of gets back from the holidays. And then we're going to have a formal adoption. I think it's in January 11th. So again, that'll be a chance, obviously a public hearing, but we get the public opportunity to provide additional comments. If they have questions, we'll be there to address them. And then there'll be a resolution to kind of consider to adopt the GSP. That all has to happen before January 31st. So there's a process, obviously to adopt it. Then there might be some changes that have to occur. And then ultimately that's got to get all packaged up and then uploaded to a DWR portal by January 31st. And it's about a week to 7 days to kind of go through the process to get that uploaded. And then once it's uploaded, there's a 75-day comment period that DWR has. So it's just another chance for everybody to provide comments on the GSP. So kind of looking ahead, that's probably what's going to happen in sort of the January time frame. I don't know if there's another slide here. Marina, do you want to go to the next slide? I think this is back to you, Marina. So thank you.
Thank you, Eddie, and thank you, Christy. So at this point, we are happy to take any questions, whether it be from the board, the community. If you think of questions after the fact, I know we've thrown a lot of information at you all the last year or so. So we do have our contact information that you can find. You can go ahead and give me a call at 707-263-2344. You can send me an email at marina.delajanis, which is DELIGIANNIS @lakecountyca.gov. Stop and visit us on the 3rd floor of the courthouse, or all this information you can find, including our contact information, you can find on the Lake County Water Resources page. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and take any questions that you all may have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions from the board members? Supervisor Scott.
I don't have a question, and that's because Deputy Director Deligianis has kept us updated through this whole process. The whole 8 months, she kept this board and the public updated on what she's doing, what's coming up, and the process along the way. So I really appreciate all your work, and Mama Deligianis should be very proud of you, as Lake County is very proud that you work for us.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Scott. That means a lot.
Any other questions or comments? Supervisor Pasca?
Just once again, a very, very thorough presentation, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate being updated all along the way.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Pasca.
I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this. It's not just our water resource team, it's also the consultants that we've been working with, the amount of public meetings that you've had to put together in order to make sure to check off every single box that the state requires you to do, as well as the buy-in from the community on obtaining all the data and looking at the surveys and everything else it's a large load to move. And so I appreciate all the hard work that has been done. I know I've gone to some of these public meetings before in the past when it first started, have not been able to keep up, but you, as other supervisors have mentioned, have always been keeping us up to date on what is happening. While it's a bit of a hardship given to us by the state, at the same time, it ensures the future of a very important agricultural area in our community, and that's what it's all about. So while it's definitely harder work to have to deal with it for the fact that one of our basins has been flagged by the state, it also ensures that we're going to take care of that basin for a lot longer than may have been if we did not do the work that we're doing right now. I know that it's not probably data that you will have, but every time I see it raining out there, I'm always thinking about the basins and them getting refilled and just the saturation that's happening. And I sure hope that some of the data that you probably did obtain through the drought, that we will be seeing some drastically different numbers as we slowly get ourselves out of the drought. And I'm crossing my fingers as I say that because we still don't know. But again, this is such an important part of who we are. We are Lake County, an agricultural area, and we want to make sure that the activities of agriculture continue way in the future after we've gone from this place as well. So thank you for all your work. Safe travels and enjoy your time in Illinois.
Thank you so much.
Let's go ahead
Sure.
and open it up. Oh, Director De Leon.
I'll jump in on public input, I suppose, but I'd just like to recognize Marina, and I think it's appropriate time to announce that she was recently voted in as a director.
That's right.
For the Groundwater Resources Association of California for the years 2022 through 24. So not only is she doing amazing work here in Lake County, but she's being recognized at the state level by being voted in as a director of this prestigious organization. And I know Mr. Teasdale is also involved with that organization, and I just like to point that out and congratulate Marina.
Thank you, Director Scott De Leon.
When you do good work, people find ways to give you more work.
I'll take it. I have a lot of caffeine, I tell you guys.
Congratulations. You make
Absolutely.
us so proud.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's
That
go ahead
means
and
a lot.
open up for the public. I see no hands up in the Zoom room, and there is a hand up in the boardroom. Please come on up to the microphone.
John Moss, I recently got invited to the committee. I'm a member of the public. They have to have a member of the public on their committee. I would like more than 3 minutes. Thank you. I have a report about what happened Friday.
Now, I'm going to make it 3 minutes at this moment in time.
Okay. Well, then I handed it into the third floor. What happened last Friday is that we heard from Eddie Teasdale that the water quality in the groundwater is good. And I question that because I didn't see the report from the Department of Water Resources. And I had documents about geothermal water in 2006 and an investigation about that. And then Sky Hoyt mentioned that he feels uncomfortable because he's been given a gag order. He cannot talk about this committee on his radio show because he represents the steam wells in Scotts Valley. He represents the people who have wells in Scotts Valley. Then I wanted to know about that. And I also mentioned that in my research, in 22 places in 2006, it mentions geothermal water coming up into the wells in Big Valley and other places. And a woman from the Wall, who was a part of the committee meeting, she said, yes, Joan, there was geothermal water in Big Valley. And we think it's still there. We want a study involving why people here drink bottled water and don't drink water from the tap. And I want to see the Department of Water Resources records that says the water is good quality. Because people are not drinking their tap water and drinking bottled water in Big Valley and other places. So we haven't been allowed to read the draft. I've only had 2 weeks to look at the draft report that Eddie Tuesdale made. I don't understand a lot of the words. I have a lot of questions. I think that the citizens should be able to see the pictures taken by the helicopter last month before next spring. We don't have enough time to read what's there. And then at the same time, the public comments that are made are not going to be available to us until next spring. And the results of the helicopter photographs aren't going to be there till next spring after the thing has been passed. So I have a lot of documents that I've handed in. I have a copy for you. And I want to know when and why the state flagged the Big Valley Water Basin about the water. What happened there? I just heard about it just now from you. Why did the state flag us?
Because of the agricultural use and ensuring that the use would go on for.
Yeah, there's things in the draft that I don't understand. Like monitoring was stopped after 2007, and then somewhere else it talks about other monitoring.
And at this point, your 3 minutes are up.
I'm not unintelligent. I have a college degree, but you see that big book over there? It's a lot to digest in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. The document will be made available to the public as well as everybody, as well as the board on January 3rd. We're done right now. And if you want to have a private conversation afterwards. It will be available for everyone as of January 3rd. And there were some questions, and I'm going to ask either Director DeLeon or Deputy Director Deligianis, what signifies a basin that needs to go through the SGMA procedure from the state?
Yes, and thank you, Joan, for your questions, and Mr. Chair for the clarification. So as outlined by SGMA, the California Department of Water Resources, they have Bulletin 118, and that's where they do an entire assessment. All of that information is publicly available. We have gone over that exact bulletin a few different times, so all those reportings are available information. It's a public document, and they look at over 8 different components. So yes, one is correct, is land use, one is population growth, etc. Where that's where they look at each different groundwater basin and whether rank them from very low to medium to critically overdraft priority. So that is how they were able to rank ours. We are rated 20 priority points, and not only does it tell you how many points we have, but why we got the points that we do. So that is something that the state did identify as a priority basin based off of their assessment that they complete and conduct.
Thank you very much. And I don't know the specifics of the tap water in which Ms. Moss was speaking of, but I know that if it is through public utilities, they have all of the lab results that you can ask the public utilities to provide. If it's a private well that somebody is directly tapping into their house, at that point, I would suggest reaching out to maybe environmental health and seeing if they can provide some information. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board. This was presentation only for us today. Are any questions or comments before we close this up? And again, Deputy Director, thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and looking forward to January 3rd, where we can start digging into what supposedly has been told to us is a large document.
That is correct. Thank you all. And then I would also like to give a special thanks to our consultants and of course the hardworking team of Water Resources for actively going out there, monitoring the wells and doing all their work. So thank you all for letting us speak to you today, and we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.